Good evening, Ben Mankiewicz with you on TCM. Every Friday this month, it's Flashback Friday, featuring a lineup of movies that use flashbacks to break the conventional linear story structure. Up next, a psychological thriller that spins a tricky tale requiring you to pay pretty close attention. From RKO in 1946, The Locket. The story begins when an uninvited guest interrupts a party celebrating the coming wedding of two New York elites. The party crasher, played by Brian Ahern, reveals he's a psychiatrist. Shrinks are always crashing parties. He's there to drop a bombshell on the groom, played by Gene Raymond. It's news his fiancée, that's Lorraine Day, does not want him to hear. The Locket uses the unique structure of a flashback within a flashback inside another flashback. Now, many of you already know this, but it seems crazy today. But back in the days of classic Hollywood, audiences didn't always show up at the theater for the start of a movie. You'd come in 10 minutes late, 30 minutes late, and then you would just stay for the first 10 or 30 minutes of the next show. Well, wandering into the middle of The Locket would definitely have confused you. Movie is based on a script by Norma Barsman titled What Nancy Wanted. It wound up at RKO with producer Burt Granit. Granit borrowed director John Brahm from Fox. Brahm, a German who'd fled his country when Hitler rose to power, had impressed Granit with his 1944 Jack the Ripper story, The Lodger, a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's 1927 film. The script got some buzz around Hollywood thanks to its juicy part for a lead actress. Sisters Joan Fontaine and Olivia de Havilland both wanted the role, but Granit cast his friend Lorraine Day over the high-profile siblings. Oddly enough, their mother, Lillian Fontaine, wound up with a bit part in The Locket. Robert Mitchum is also in the cast. Mitchum had just received an Oscar nomination for his supporting role in the 1945 war picture, The Story of G.I. Joe. RKO was beginning to sense it had a star in the making with Mitchum. This marked the last film Mitchum made for decades where he wasn't one of the leads. Here it is from 1946, The Locket. In 1947, not long after the release of The Locket, its writer, Norma Barsman, and her husband, Ben, also a screenwriter, got a cryptic warning from their Beverly Hills neighbor. That neighbor was Groucho Marx, but this was no joke. Marx had heard whispers that the couple was, quote, hot. That is, they were suspected of being communists and on the radar of the House Committee on Un-American Activities. A more immediate warning came a bit later. They lived in the Hollywood Hills, and one of their neighbors was having a dinner party. The Barsmans weren't going, but it was a nice evening, and they were having a drink on their porch. A car turned into their driveway. A striking blonde woman they did not know got out of the car. She said her name was Norma, like Norma Barsman, and she wanted them to know that she was on her way to the party, but they needed to know that sheriff's deputies were at the bottom of the hill, stopping all the cars headed up their street, asking the drivers if they were headed to the Barsmans. They were grateful for this alarming information. With the FBI deeply in their business, they soon left Los Angeles for Europe to avoid the turmoil, though they found themselves blacklisted anyway when their names came up at a 1951 hearing. One day in France, they were reading an American newspaper when they came across an article about a hot young movie star named Marilyn Monroe. Immediately, they recognized her photo as Norma, the nice young woman who had warned them about the police at the bottom of the street. The Barsmans continued to work on Hollywood productions while overseas, often using pseudonyms like so many other blacklisted writers. They eventually returned to Hollywood, but not until 1976. Over the years, Norma Barsman worked diligently to undo the lingering damage done by the blacklist. That included pressuring Hollywood to restore movie credits to those who'd had them stripped away. In 2003, Norma Barsman published her remarkable memoir, The Red and the Blacklist, the intimate memoir of a Hollywood expatriate. She died in 2023 at the age of 103, one of the last survivors of the blacklist era. Coming up, an insurance agent falls under the spell of a bored housewife with murder on her mind. From 1944, Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity is next on TCM.
Next on TCM, Double Indemnity. Then The Killers. And later, Mildred Pierce. Mother Knows Beast on TCM Tonight.